Hey, it's Alex from darkmonkeyballs.com coming at you with a different kind of video this time. I've put on my radio voice that I normally use for the modcasts at snakebitestv.ning.com to do a different type of video. Obviously, if you keep up with any reptile news at all, you would know that the U.S. just banned the importation and across state line sales and other stuff of Burmese pythons. Because of what's going on in Florida. So that sucks. That sucks for importers, it sucks for breeders, it sucks for the hobby. One of the main issues that people might not realize is there's no way to enforce this with shipping, because nobody writes on a box, hey, this is a Burmese python, so don't let me ship it. Nobody does that. So what do? Well, the easy thing to do is just say, alright, well, since we can't enforce it that way, let's ban all shipping of any reptile. Which might be extreme, but it's certainly a road we can go down. If they're banning this now, what's stopping them from banning shipment of everything? It's really the only way to crack down on that law if they're serious about it. And the only reason this crap came up was because in Florida we have a, quote, Burmese python issue, which, in my opinion, isn't really an issue, and there's no science to back up how bad the problem is. If you take a look at any statistics, they go and range from, oh, there's 50,000 snakes there to 500,000 snakes. Oh, they're going to get out of the Everglades. They're going to move up to North Florida. They're going to go to New York. You're going to have babies being eaten and all this other shit. And it's just not true. The environment doesn't allow for them to live anywhere outside of southern Florida where it's warm. 2 years ago they had those nice cold winters and pretty much almost wiped out that entire snake population. There were the few that survived and continue to live on. Now, some science people like to say, oh my god, they're adapting! They're going to evolve and they're going to be used to cold and all this other shit. Well, no, they don't evolve in a generation. They survive for whatever reason. They might have found warm spots, been under houses, what have you, and they continued on. So that's just ridiculous. They're not gonna fucking move out of the Everglades or South Florida into colder climates and magically survive. Out here in Southern California, if one of my snakes got out, it drops below, their surviving temperature, they would freeze to death overnight. That's just the way it is. These things can only survive in very limited areas. It has to be warm, humid, very specific. There needs to be a food source. They need to not have specific predators. And that's the thing. In Florida, they do have predators. They act as though a baby Burmese python is going to go from 12 inches to 20 feet in a year and eat everything. That's just not the case. They also act as though each female Burmese python is at its max size, pumping out its maximum amount of eggs in a season. They all hatch out, they all survive, and they think the population is going to explode. That's not the case. All right. Smaller Burmese pythons, they have maybe, 6 to 12 eggs when in their first season. And it takes them a long time to get to maximum breeding size. Also, those eggs, they don't have a 100% hatch out rate. They also don't have a 100% fertility rate. And the snakes that do hatch out do not have a 100% survival rate till the next year. If you've been in reptiles breeding at all, you know that you're going to have eggs that are infertile. They're going to die in the egg. You're going to have babies that don't eat right away. And you know what a pain in the ass it is to get baby snakes to eat. They just don't all survive. So that's one issue right there. Along with that, they're not super predators out of the egg. They're very vulnerable, and they have a lot of predators that come and eat them. So yeah, out of a clutch of eggs, you get one or two that make it to adulthood, and assuming they don't get frozen off during a winter or eaten by something else, they might survive to get huge. But it takes a while. If you keep large snakes, it takes 4 or 5 years for an animal to go from a hatchling to full size. That's assuming you're not breeding it. And that's also assuming they're very well fed. There's folks out here in Southern California that have a reptile shop, and they specialize in large snakes, burms and retics, and they overfeed the crap out of them, which is why they're huge. Most people that feed appropriate meals to their snakes, the snakes aren't going to get that big. And they're certainly not going to get that big that quick. It takes a long time and a lot of energy. So there's just a lot of issues with this whole thing that nobody took into consideration when writing these bills and these laws. They just said, hey, here's an issue we can push through, we can win and look good for a group of lobbyists or people or whatever that want to push this. And that's the scary thing. That's the worst thing of this situation, is that nobody really took the time to look at the science, to properly do the research, and really look at the situation properly. It was just pushed through. They did shit quickly, and they did shit inaccurately, and they made shit up. That's the bottom line. And my cat's in here. Hi, cat. How are you doing? Good cat. So that's, like I said, the scary thing. And if it happened with one species, it can happen with others. It's just too bad, you know. It's a loss for the reptile hobby, but at the same time, it's hopefully a wake-up call, because there's a lot of folks that want all or nothing, you know. You could have said a few years ago, we should probably regulate who's getting these huge snakes, because like most people that keep reptiles, you know, not everybody's out there doing the research to figure out what they need, what they're going to require, and proper caging, proper food, all that other shit. And as breeders, you don't say, hey, have you done your research? No, you just sell something to a person. And people just buy shit. And then when they're too big, I can't keep it, time to get rid of it. You know, I'll let it go. I'll sell it to somebody else who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and all that other good stuff. So, you know, there's just too much misinformation. There's not enough research being done. I've run into quite a few people that I talk to when they hear I have snakes. They're like, oh, don't they get 20 feet long? Don't they eat rabbits and pigs and shit? No. There's only a few species that get that big. You know, Burmese, rocks, retics, and green anacondas are really the only ones that I can think of that get not just long, but girthy. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. Penis joke. But that's it. You know, boas, they get kind of large, but not very. And bottom line is, if you're a responsible keeper, they're perfectly safe. They're not going to get out. They're not going to hurt you. But you have to do the research. You have to know how to keep an animal. That's the bottom line, and people don't do that. And folks buy whatever the fuck they want because they think it looks cool, because they think, oh, hey, this snake's going to get big. I can take it to the park. It'll look cool, and people pay attention to me, and that's what I want. But it's just not the case. So I don't know. Hopefully things get resolved. Hopefully things don't get so crazy to where nobody's able to ship stuff out and the business goes on. But, you know, with the current administration and things, obviously they don't give a shit about jobs or people out of work or all that other good stuff. They just kind of do. And lobbyists rule the government and all that other good stuff. And if the reptile hobby as a whole really, really wants to save the industry, they're going to have as much money as the folks lobbying against it. And it's just not the case, unfortunately. Because that's what decides these things. It's not science, it's not research, and hey, this is really what the snake population is, this is where they can survive, this is what they're doing. It's, I've got a shit ton of money, I don't like you, here you go, because I say so. And that's the bottom line, unfortunately. So, that's that. I don't know. It sucks. So, hopefully you take some things into consideration when buying stuff. Hopefully breeders kind of get a wake-up call and think, maybe we shouldn't sell these things to everybody, because this is the situation we've got ourselves into. And just overall responsibility is what needs to start taking place. So again, this is Alex, ballpythons.com, or if you want, you can check out snakebitestv.ning.com. That's the social network set up by BHB. Thank you, goodbye, and don't buy shit you don't need.